Welcome, one and all, to episode 66 of Driver Seat Blog Radio. I'm your host, David G. Firestone. Well, the racing season is continuing on, as does the racing news cycle, and we have some news to discuss. I'm going to take a break from talking about NASCAR this week. I need to focus on other things, and I'm so over the Bristol dirt race at this point. And you know what? Most fans are too. So why don't we just forget about it and move on? Now, I'm going to talk about Formula One because, well, they continue to amaze me. And not in a good way. Let's discuss Nelson Piquet first. Now, for those of you who don't know, Nelson Piquet is the one of two Nelson Piquets who's raced in Formula One. We'll get to his son in a minute. And in November of 2021, he used a Brazilian Portuguese racial and homophobic slur during an interview on TV in reference to Lewis Hamilton after a wreck between Hamilton and Max Verstappen during the Silverstone Grand Prix. It should be noted, for the sake of completeness, that Verstappen is dating Piquet's daughter. This remark led to a lot of very justified outrage from the black community, the Formula One community, and the LGBT community, all of which showed massive support for Hamilton after the remark. Now, this is why I'm reporting about this, because this makes me happy. On March 25th, it was announced that Piquet had been fined a real $5 million, or $1 million US dollars, by a Brazilian court for collective moral damages. The court stated that, quote, "The substitute judge of the 20th Civil Court of Brasilia sentenced former Formula One driver Nelson Piquet Sotomayor to pay real $5 million in compensation for collective moral damages to be allotted to funds for the promotion of racial equality and discrimination against the LGBTQIA plus community due to the offensives made against current Formula One driver Lewis Hamilton." The defendant, in his defense, argued that he had already recanted the way he treated the English driver, but that his conduct did not characterize racism or homophobia, and that there was no need to speak of hate speech or offense to the black population or the LGBTQIA plus community in general. He maintained that, despite the use of inappropriate language, there was no intention to harm Hamilton's honor or anyone else's, thus it was not a case of hate speech. The duty to indemnify would not be characterized, end quote. Now, personally, just me, I think $1 million is a bit too low. These kinds of fines need to be used to send a message that this kind of language and this kind of action will not be tolerated. I also would not feel bad if he got banned from Formula One events in the future. And because we need to rid the world of this kind of hate speech. It's unacceptable and needs to go. And I'm glad they're making it hurt where it counts. Now, we're going to stick with Formula One and the Piquet family because, weirdly enough, the Singapore Sling came up recently. Now, for those of you who don't remember, the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix will forever be known for Nelson Piquet Jr. intentionally wrecking to bring out the safety car. This wreck helped Fernando Alonso win the race, and Lewis Hamilton would go on to win the 2008 Formula One Championship, 1 point over Felipe Massa. After some back and forth with Renault, Piquet later revealed the cheating after the season ended. Renault suffered huge fines, suspensions, and more or less made the sport look bad as a whole. Felipe Massa tried desperately to get the race results overturned, justifiably so, but to no avail. Well, it emerged that there theoretically could be a way to overturn this. In yet another amazing lack of self-awareness, Bernie Ecclestone suggested that he and FIA President Max Mosley were very well aware of the rules breach, quote, during the 2008 season. If this is true, this would have been well within the time the action could have been taken to alter the results of the race. According to Ecclestone, quote, "We decided not to do anything for now. We wanted to protect the sport and save it from a huge scandal. That's why I used angelic tongues to persuade my former driver Nelson Piquet to keep calm for the time thing. Back then, there was a rule that a World Championship classification after the FIA award ceremony was untouchable, so Hamilton was presented with the trophy and everything was fine. We had enough time to investigate the matter. According to the statutes, we should have canceled the race in Singapore under these conditions. That means it would have never happened for the champion standings, and Felipe Massa would have become the world champion and not Lewis Hamilton." End quote. Is there an organization in sports that just constantly just messes up things like Formula One does? I mean, people wonder why Formula One gets the hate that it does from their own fans, mind you. Never mind the media. But when something like this comes out, the largest cheating scandal in the history of Formula One, and they knew about it and didn't do anything about it, and they're shocked that people are upset about this. Piquet and Alonso and Renault seriously cheated to win. There is no arguing this. Lewis Hamilton directly benefited from this cheating, and nobody is in denial about this. For some reason, the FIA and Formula One knew all about this the entire time, yet they didn't do anything. How does this not qualify as organized match fixing? If this happened in this country, there'd be a RICO investigation. How are there no legal investigations? When the owner of Formula One says in no uncertain terms that officials knew exactly what was going on and went out of their way to do nothing and allowed an unfair championship to be awarded, what does that say about the organization? And it's not like you can go outside to get an appeal here. Any appeal through Formula One has to be done through Formula One, and since the race in question was 15 years ago, that time has long since passed. Basically, Bernie Ecclestone came out and basically said, yeah, we knew about it, we could have acted, we didn't do anything, deal with it. I am not an unreasonable man. I'm really, really not. But the sheer incompetency of Formula One is amazing. This might be the worst run racing series in the world, and it's also the biggest. And they're desperately trying to gain a foothold in the U.S. market. Now, I've talked on a few occasions as to why it's probably not going to work. This really isn't happening. And I'm frankly stunned that he would even say that. In what part of your brain do you think it's a good idea to strip your organization of any credibility? What did this solve? Nothing. You've made yourselves look like idiots. You've made yourselves look guilty of cheating. You have no self-awareness whatsoever. And it's just, I don't even know what to say right now. I really don't. Now, Speaking of Formula One again, something else happened at the Grand Prix of Australia, and they just keep giving me rote to hang them with, so I'm going to keep hanging them. I don't care. Excuse me. So this is from a Jalopnik article by Elizabeth Blackstock. I have to read this exactly how it is written. I can't sum up the situation better than she does. Okay. Now, quote, and there's a link in the description, by the way. Quote, Formula One drivers may be some of the best competitors in the world, but they're human just like the rest of us. Case in point, a GPS outage during practice for this weekend's Australian Grand Prix left drivers so disoriented on the track, there were a handful of near misses which forced a red flag in the first session until the problem is fixed. Oh. A, quote, glitch in the distribution of live tire information means teams no longer had data to distribute to their drivers how motorsports reports. That means AlphaTauri's Yuri Tsunoda almost hit a Ferrari. Aston Martin's Lance Stroll got stuck at the end of a long train of slow traffic he had no idea was coming. And Haas's Nico Hülkenberg had to skid off the track to avoid the McLaren of Lando Norris. Haas driver Kevin Magnussen said the drivers felt blindfolded by the sudden lack of data, which makes sense. No one was aware that the problem was striking until the drivers were on the thrones of a lap, which meant that no one knew that they would need to worry about traffic around them. We know we're relying on engineers to tell where traffic is, quote, Magnussen explained. I don't think anybody knew that the GPS system was out, so when you don't hear anything, then you expect that there's nothing coming. If we had known that we didn't have a GPS system, you'd be way more careful looking in your mirrors the whole time, and nobody was. She goes on, I get that the stream of data is needed for drivers to understand the condition of the car and track, etc. No, wait. I got messed up here. Hold on. So, we rely on engineers, blah, blah, blah. You'd be way more careful just looking in your mirrors the whole time, and nobody was. End quote. Now, I get that the stream of data is needed for drivers to understand the condition of the car and the track, etc. But when 20 trained and highly talented race car drivers in the world's most popular racing series need a red flag to avoid hitting each other and, quote, don't look at their mirrors as much because of GPS data, that kind of says a lot. I mean, I get that the stream of information is important, but you're race car drivers. Okay? It's not like you work in a bakery 4 days out of the week and you're a race car driver 3 days out of the week. You're full-time drivers. There is absolutely no excuse for something like this to happen. Formula One has been around since the late 50s. Drivers didn't have GPS back then. So I don't know why all of a sudden this is the critical thing that could... I don't get this. And furthermore, if the drivers are so reliant on GPS, they don't even look in their mirrors, or they don't look in their mirrors as much, that might be a sign of a problem. That might be a sign of a problem. You're focusing so much on a brand new piece of technology that you ignore a piece of technology that's been in the place since, like, what, the 30s? The 20s? I mean, why in the world... You know what? I don't even know. I'm not even going to... You know what? I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm going to stop ranting about Formula One. I'm going to take a break. And then I'll rant about one of my pet peeves. So I'll be right back. And we're back. Okay, I need to vent for a bit because I had something happen that just really pissed me off. Now, we all have our pet peeves, and I'm no different. I think we all have something that just annoys us that most other people don't see as an issue. I have more than a few of them. But one of them I discussed on YouTube a few years ago because it does factor into what I'm about to talk about. Now, anyone who knows me knows I have no double entendre. I have no subtext. I have no ulterior motives. I say what I say. What you see is what you get. I make no secret of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it because there's no subtext whatsoever. Okay? One of my biggest pet peeves, and it doesn't happen very often, but it sends me into a rage when it does, is when I make a decision or do something purely out of self-interest, but people seem to think that I'm doing it for other reasons or even positive reasons. Again, there's no subtext with me, and when I make it clear that I'm in it for, when I'm doing something selfishly, I make it clear I'm doing it for selfish reasons. What my intentions are made clear very quickly. And I bring this up because one of the most uncomfortable moments in my entire life was one of these situations. So, I want to say, this was 6th grade. My English teacher asked for volunteers to reorganize the bookcases in his room. Now, those who volunteered would be paid in both extra credit and pizza. Well, being the fat load that I am, I agreed because I wanted pizza. And I made that clear to everyone involved. I do a couple hours work and I get to eat a lot of pizza. Okay, I can handle that. And amazingly, I want to say there were like 90 students in his various classes. I was one of like 2 or 3 people that volunteered. I showed up, did the job I was there to do, ate my pizza, went home. No ulterior motives there. So, cut to a few weeks later to parent-teacher conferences, which I was dragged to against my will. We were having a meeting with the English teacher, and it just got so uncomfortable because we were just talking about, well, he didn't do well on a book report and blah. And then he goes into this like whole, I don't know if it's like somewhere between a rant and a spiel about how he was basically praising me for having good work ethic, and he was willing to do work nobody else was there to do. But the thing is, again, I knew the truth, he knew the truth, and my mom knew the truth. I didn't care about anything except the pizza. I wasn't there to suck up to him. I really didn't even care about the extra credit, to be honest with you. Granted, I was glad to have it, but it was about the pizza for me, and I made that clear to everyone. Everyone knew the truth. But it was like basically a case of he's full of it. My mom knows he's full of it. I know he's full of it. He just doesn't seem to think we know he's full of it. And I really did like the guy, but it was so uncomfortable. And even my mom, who is much better in these situations than I am, she was visibly uncomfortable with all of this. And I don't even blame her. And that's sort of when it just Stop trying to make me look like a better person. I am a piece of crap. I openly admit to what a piece of crap I am, and I'm not going to magically get better just because you're going to give me praise. That ain't how it works. If I do something for a selfish reason, leave it at that. I have no ulterior motives to do for anything at this point. Why? To quote Eric Nagel or E-Rock from Opie and Anthony, now the Anthony Cumia Show, I'm too lazy to have motives. This is my life at this point. I wake up, I go to work, I come home, I play video games, I watch racing and wrestling, I work on the podcast, I work on the blog, and I make YouTube videos. Outside of that, there's really not a lot going on, and that's fine by me. Now, the reason I bring this up was because I had a conversation that led to a conversation that sent me into a rage. I was offered and subsequently turned down a promotion at work. Now, while you could argue that it sounded like I made a bad move, in actuality, this would have not only would it have doubled my nightly workload. I would lose my seniority. I would get an increase in pay, but it's nowhere near the amount that would have made up for it. So I'm doing more work for a negligible raise. So, what's the point? Well, there isn't one. I'm not climbing the corporate ladder at this point in my life. And I'm happy in my current job role. I really am. I'm good at it. I enjoy it. It's entertaining. It's never the same thing twice. But I know what I'm getting. So, a little while after that conversation took place, and and by the way, the person who offered me the promotion when I turned down said, okay, just wasn't upset with it. You know, she had someone else in mind anyway, so it really didn't really even bother her all that much. So everyone walked away with what they wanted. Now, a little while later, there was a coworker who had overheard this and started questioning me as to why I would turn down the promotion. I did basically the best thing that I could do in that situation was to just not engage. Just don't get angry. Just ignore her. It's not worth the argument. I have an anger management problem, and I find that being calm is a great way to deal with anger management. But this person walks away, and I'm like, what the fuck do you care? Because she couldn't wrap around her arms around the fact that I did something that's right for me and right for the store. But this person, I don't know this person's name. I don't know her name. I didn't know her name then. I don't know her name now. But it's like, why are you questioning me making a decision that's right for me when it has zero effect on your life? And it wasn't like she was saying, well, in a lot of times I think you it wasn't even like if she had phrased it like, look, you probably could be higher on the corporate ladder than you are if you accept this promotion. I mean, like if she was phrasing it in a way that you're holding yourself back, you could be better than what you are. Like I could at least understand that. Now, granted, that is what led me to take a couple of jobs that didn't go well in 2021, excuse me. But it was just like but this person was just like, what is wrong with you? Are you really that stupid? Like that type of attitude. And again, I don't know this person's name. And you can make an argument, well, you do talk about quiet quitting and, all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, I'm trying to help you not make a stupid decision that could end your career and make you unemployable. Okay? Because believe me, your work record does follow you around. So if you're quitting or getting fired from jobs for laziness, that's going to come back to bite you in the ass. Me not accepting a promotion that would have ended badly for everyone, it doesn't fall into that category. And besides, if you don't want to listen to me, go right ahead. I have no control over your life, but I've said, look, if this is the way you want to go, the best of luck, but I'm not. I'm basically saying that you do you, I'll do me. I'll try to give you a little bit of advice, but if you don't take it, that's up to you, and I won't judge you for it. But this person, whose name I legitimately don't know, questioned vehemently my motives for doing something that's right for myself in the store. Now, I'm 41 years old. I have a college degree. I don't need people talking for me. And I don't waste my time on workplace gossip or politics because I don't care. I'm just there to work. I've never understood the logic of people who get this upset when another person whose name you don't even know makes a decision that's best for them. And I don't care what application we're talking about. How does me making a decision that's best for me in the store affect your life at all? It doesn't. And they tried playing the, well, I'm just looking out for you. Bullshit. I've heard that before. I'm 41 years old and I have a college degree. I'll make whatever decisions I want that are best for me. And if I make a decision that's within my best interest and I'm happy with the outcome, that's it. I don't waste my time on gossip. I don't waste my time on workplace politics. It isn't worth the effort. I'm just there to work, and I really don't care if you like me or not. I'm not here to be popular. I'm here to earn a living. I'm really not trying to be a jerk with this approach, but at this point in my life, this is just how I am. I have no ulterior motives. I have no subtext. I have no... What you see is what you get, and that's just the way it works. Okay, I've done enough ranting for the time being. I'm done for this week. I'll have some NASCAR stories for next week. I'm Dave Farsley. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next week for episode 67 of Driver Suit Blog Radio.